Go, go.
Hello, and welcome to Paranormal Crossings. I'm your host, Aaron Collins, and this is my co-host,
Elise Wells.
And we have not that I'm trying to echo you or anything, but we are a talk show that talks about all things paranormal. And being that we are talking about all things paranormal, we are interviewing various guests over the course of the series, having to do with paranormal investigators, psychics, mediums. I mean, the list goes on and on. But along with that, we also like to talk to people who are in a haunted location, or at least a location where there's claims of haunted activity. And our guest tonight, I'm very excited to have, and have been wanting to interview this gentleman on the show for quite a long time. His name is Michael P. Jones. Welcome to Paranormal Crossings.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And so you are the, I don't know what's the official or unofficial title, Curator? Curator for Portland, Oregon's Shanghai Tunnels.
Correct.
And so how did you get associated with the Shanghai Tunnels?
Well, I was 7 years old when I first went into the underground. I have a foster brother whose real dad, Dewey Kirkpatrick, lived 6 months of the year in hotels downtown. And the other 6 months he was at a VA hospital. And so we would come down and visit him. And I was never wanting to stand still. And my brother was always in his dad's room watching TV, but I was wandering outside the door a little bit, then a little bit further, and I was down the stairs into the hotel lobby. And I loved old people because they had so much history. And I would sit there and I would ask them question after question after question. And most of my questions was about history. And there was an old captain there that lived in this one hotel. It was a Lenox Hotel. And he was really a grouch towards me. Wouldn't talk to me, and I nicknamed Captain Grump. I didn't say that to his face. But, and so I would just kind of stare him down, and he would stare me down. Well, Dewey would tell me, you know, you don't have to leave that lobby when he comes in there. If he says anything to you, you don't have to leave, because you're like my grandson. As long as I'm in a room here, you can be here. So finally, one day, I drove everybody out of that lobby with my questions. And all these people were so nice to me, but one by one, they got up and left. And so all of a sudden, I'm there with him.
Captain Grumpy.
So you're forced to face Captain Grumpy.
And he just glared at me. I glared back. And then the smile came across his face. And I thought, okay, something's going to happen here. And he started asking me, if you really want to know about the history of Portland, you really have to go underground. Because that's where the history is. He started talking about the Shanghai and the underground network. And I didn't believe a thing he was telling me. And he could tell that, and he got pissed. Yeah. He stood up and said, if you don't believe me, and he took his chain and banged on the floor, you come with me. So leave the hotel. Now, I figured he'd walk out 2 or 3 steps and stop and say, hey, I'm just kidding, kid, trying to see if I was going to follow him. But he didn't turn around. He knew I was following him.
Wow.
And he headed south to where Portland was going through its first urban renewal project called the South Auditorium Renewal. And we went into this building that was halfway gone. And there was no plywood fence up or cyclone fence. They didn't do that back then. And so I remember we had to climb over some homeless people sleeping there. And he told me, just don't step on anybody or you're in trouble. So my legs barely reached over him. And we ended up in the middle of the building, and he reaches down on the floor, moves this rubble around, and he pulls up a trap door. And we walked down what I call now a stair ladder. It's kind of something you see aboard ship. It's kind of a cross between a set of stairs and a ladder.
Wow.
We got to the bottom, and he pointed to a metal door. He says, you go through there, you don't make any turns, you go straight, and you'll hit the waterfront. And he emphasized, don't make any turns.
Wow.
Go straight. Gave me a little box of wooden matches.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm 7 years old. I, of course, never touched a match in all my life, and I didn't believe anything he'd been telling me. So my biggest fear was not wanting to see behind that door, because I thought I'd see nothing but a solid wall. My fear was lighting this match without burning myself. Right. And so I was able to light my first match, and I tell you, this incredible new world opened up. A beautiful brick and stone, but darkness also. And as I walked into that tunnel, my entire life began to change.
I can imagine.
And first match went out, and he's holding the door open talking to me. First match went out, I was able to light. That's my second match. I'm so excited. And then I keep moving, and he's talking to me, and I really felt like I'd been there before. It was so comfortable, so familiar. Of course, I hadn't been there. And then that match went out, and I followed around and lit a third match. Now I'm really feeling really grown up. Right. I've lit 3 matches. I hadn't burnt myself once. And then the captain says, "Well, kid, see you around, gotta go."
What?
He turned to walk away, let the door slam shut. The match went out. I screamed, turned around, went running back through that tunnel, busting through the door, about knocked him over.
Oh my gosh.
Serves him right.
Now, all of a sudden I realized Dewey was looking for me. And oh my God, was he.
Oh.
He was so mad. And he was yelling and, so, but he finally calmed down. And the captain said, "Look, he found something, listen to him." And I told him what I had found. And he said, "Okay, you never leave this hotel again with anyone but me. I will get you into other segments." And back in those days, this is late 1950s now, back in those days, it was basically still connected. But what Dewey had to do to get me into new places, and we went to the hotels because the hotel, as he explained to me, had the biggest footprint. So you got into more areas. So he would have to switch hotels every week, and he was actually losing money because if you rented by the month, it was cheaper.
Right.
But he was trying to help me out, and that's how it was. And he could not go with me. He had a very bad leg. He was both in World War I and World War II, so he was in pretty bad shape. But he would sneak me past the desk clerks, and that was always a challenge. And I was on my own.
Wow.
You and your matches.
And
hopefully by then you got a flashlight.
you know,
Or a lantern.
I ended up with a flashlight, and I still have it.
Really?
It's going to be on display in our museum of the
Oh
Shanghai
my
Tunnels,
gosh,
which
that's
opens
awesome.
up
That's wonderful.
very soon. So for 11 years, what he did, he took me to all these places. My brother Tom would not go underground. To this very day, he's never been underground.
Really?
So, for 11 years, we went all over, and then we ran out of hotels. We started duplicating hotels because he could only afford so much.
Right.
You know, so when we ran out of those really cheap hotels, he started taking me to the old movie theaters, like the Roundup, the Blue Mouse, the Circle Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And he figured they had to have a connection since everything seemed to have. And he was, after he watched all these movies, and you saw 3 to 5 movies for 15 cents and 25 cents a ticket, that's what you saw, he would sneak me past the desk clerk, and I was on my own. And
So
when
all
Dewey,
of these had tunnels, there were tunnels underneath each one of these buildings?
They were
Or
all-
connecting somehow?
most of them were still connected, yeah.
Wow.
But what was interesting, when he passed away, I was on my own, you know. And I really had to figure out, okay, I lost a great partner here on this, how to get into these places.
Sure.
I was stuck. I couldn't afford to rent a room.
Right.
So I went and started making friends with some homeless people. The old hobos were the best.
Right.
And they would help me get into places because they were getting into a lot of these places. So they were really some great assets for me. And I met some incredible people and who really helped me a lot. And so, and still to this very day, homeless people give me more information. They know what I'm doing, so but they always say, watch out for the ghosts.
Really? Now let me ask you this. What originally were the tunnels for?
Well, that's a real interesting debate. But what's really good, the people, the family of the guy who built the underground, are very good friends with ours. In fact, they're volunteers, and once in a while they will show up on our tours, and people are just so delighted when they show up, when they introduce who they are. They were actually built for Shanghai. Now people will say, oh, they were built for other uses and stuff. Those are nice stories, but the money was in Shanghai, at least at one part in Portland's history. And it was all this underground stuff that was going on, and you know, Portland has an old saying, what the good citizens of Portland did not see, that didn't happen. So as long as things were done in the darkness and shadows, things were fine.
Explain Shanghai to us.
Shanghai is the method of kidnapping men and selling them to sea captains. And the sea captains force them to work aboard their ships for nothing. That's basically all over the country. Portland, however, the way we did it, we didn't wait until a captain came and ordered a crew. Like say they needed 4 men on a crew. Well, we didn't wait, because in other cities, they couldn't get enough men to fill those 4 positions because they only had a short amount of time before the ship was leaving. So they would wait, and so maybe 2 hours before, and then go to the saloons and places like that trying to get their victims. Well, when you didn't fulfill those orders, you had problems on that ship because now the other crew members had to take over those spots and fill it. So the morale went down. So Portland, though, collected their victims in advance.
Wow.
Brought them into the underground, locked them up in holding cells. And then that's where they kept them until the ship was ready to leave port. And I mean, ready to leave. It was all coordinated. And these guys, when they, how they got into the underground was generally through the saloons, through trap doors.
Wow.
Those were the most efficient ways.
Wow.
And once they got them to the underground, they were either drunk already or drugged up. I mean, they couldn't fight anything. They'd haul them off and lock them up in a holding cell.
Wow.
And then when the ship was ready to leave, the captain would let them know, bring my men, and he would pay them $50 a head.
Wow.
And they worked the entire voyage for nothing. It was slavery.
Wow.
Did they usually bring them back to the same location?
Now, when the voyage was over, which was a 3-year voyage, when the voyage was over, where the voyage ended, that's where they were kicked off.
Wow.
Foreign country, East Coast
money,
city.
no way to get anywhere.
Didn't matter.
Wow.
So it was really terrible because the people they were Shanghai were not residents. You start Shanghai residents, and then all of a sudden the word goes out. But you Shanghai transients, men who didn't have connections with their families never saw them, never received a letter hardly.
Wow.
So you got loggers, sailors, cowboys, sheep herders. Those are the ones you want to get out of town, except when it came to the longshoremen. Longshoremen were trying to organize in Portland, and they wanted them out of town.
Wow.
So they would Shanghai longshoremen. The interesting thing about the early days of Shanghai, the longshoremen would have a buddy working with them because they were worried that they were going to be shanghaied. To this very day, the longshoreman works on a buddy system. But as they explained to me, I had a large group come through not too long ago. They're with us, your buddy's with you, not because we're in danger of being Shanghai, but for safety. But they all knew it started back in the days of Shanghai.
And when did that first begin? When were the tunnels first designed and cut out?
Well, Shanghai started 1850s, but it was not a lot. It was a little bit here and there. The boom time of Shanghai started 1870s.
Wow.
That's when they started major building and stuff like that. And they were built at the time they built the buildings. And the people building the underground were Chinese, but they were not. They were the laborers because they weren't paid much. They were the ones who worked 6 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days. They were supposed to get paid $1 a week.
Wow.
Except 75 cents of that went to the labor contractor.
Oh my goodness.
So they were 25 cents a week.
Wow.
And you can see their work in the underground still. There are some very interesting marks on the walls that certainly look like Chinese. And when we have a lot of Chinese groups that come through, and they point out a lot of things to us that we haven't been aware of, or things that we didn't know what it was. It was just there. So it's been a very interesting. Because this has been a lifetime of work for me.
Sure. So I imagine it's a passion. I can tell.
It's so fascinating, and it opens doors to other things. Because from learning about the Shanghai, and I've learned about the Wobblies, the IWW. industrial workers of the world. They were trying to clean up the logging camps and became very good friends with an old-timer named Dakota Dan. That was his nickname. He was a wobbly organizer. And he was so good at organizing in the logging camps, they actually put a price on his head.
Wow.
To get rid of him, the owners of the logging companies. So he moved into Portland. He organized on the streets. And he was so good, they put a price on him in Portland.
Oh my goodness.
So what he did with his meetings, they went underground. And he had to warn, people could not wander. If they wandered, something could happen. It was kind of interesting because they would go underground, have their meetings there. To combat what the IWW was doing, they started the 4 Ls, the Loyal Legion of Loggers and Lumbermen.
Wow.
And they would actually, their goal was to go into the underground and take over their meeting places. And they would put up a big sign. There is one place in Portland, that sign is still there.
Really?
It is just amazing. You know, and what I love is getting this oral history, and then you go and you find things.
It's like a treasure map.
This is incredible. This is what they talked about.
Yeah, I can imagine the artifacts that have been found down there, and I imagine you still have some things that are still there, or did you guys remove everything?
No. My entire life I've been gathering artifacts from the underground, and generally from buildings that are being torn down, and so I would rescue these artifacts, and they were laying right on the ground. So, and I would go to the building owners or the contractor and says, hey, and they said, I would like to put this away so we don't lose this history. And they, you know, it's just garbage to them.
Right.
So they'd let me take them. So I have all these things. And we have a museum, the Shanghai Tunnels, that's opening up soon. We also have the Old North End Shanghai Tunnel Museum. This is right, you're going to see it right on our tours. And we have another one in a whole new area that we're opening up that will not be ready for the public for another year.
Right.
Another whole new underground section.
So if you can explain to people where they have to, you know, because Portland is big, so where is it they're going to want to go in order to get to these mysterious tunnels?
You go to the Old Town Chinatown area.
Okay.
And Hobo's Restaurant is where it all takes place at. That's our
Really?
entryway. And you can give us a call, you know, 503-622-4798. Online, shanghai-tunnels.info. And it's a whole new world. And, you know, I don't just want people to go on a tour.
Sure.
I want people to start volunteering.
Oh, absolutely.
Because our tours operate because of volunteers.
Wow.
And some of our volunteers have been with us over 12 years.
Do people go to the website in order to sign up to let you know to be
Yes.
volunteers?
Well, they got to go on a tour first, and the reason is they might not be able to handle the environment, or they cannot handle what happens in the underground.
Wow.
I've had several volunteers had to quit because they could not handle this. I was training a new tour guide. I spent a couple weeks really intense training. I get this phone call from him. He says, do you know what's going on down there? I go, what, you mean the hauntings? He goes, yes. He goes, I've got to quit. I can't.
Oh my gosh.
I had another great volunteer. He's a teacher in Portland. And he was standing by what we call the stair ladder to nowhere. And he was alone. And this male's voice whispered in his ear, get out.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
And he got out.
Wow.
Other people on our tours heard a male's voice whisper in their ear, stay. Now, I don't know what's more frightening, get out or stay, but I think stay.
Yeah.
And I have a great volunteer, and about 3 months ago, she was standing in the same spot, and a male's voice whispered, stay.
Wow.
She would not come back the rest of the night.
Wow. Now, do people, everyone that goes on tours, do you get at least one person out of the group that comes up to you and says, oh my gosh, I saw a ghost, or I heard a voice that, you know, was disembodied, or?
Generally, it's more than one. But I also have people that have great experiences that won't talk about it, maybe for a year or two.
Really?
Then they will come back on another tour and say, I should have told you, but I was standing by the opium den, or I was standing by the white slaver cell, and this is what happened to me.
Wow.
I have people that would go into the underground and immediately it hits them. It's a neat history, but it's a horrible history. The human abuse at its worst, and they will just start crying.
Yeah.
And they don't know why, but they can just feel it.
It's very dark. I mean, Portland's such a beautiful city, and then we have the dark history that a lot of people weren't aware of. And before I started doing paranormal investigations, I myself, embarrassingly enough, wasn't even aware of the Shanghai Tunnels nor what happened. And so I'm sure a lot of people probably are in the same boat.
And people who are sensitives or psychics, some of them say, I can't handle this.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I could understand how it would be a little bit difficult to go down there, especially if you're actually looking for something. It seems like you'd want to go down there more naturally, just not assuming that you're going to look for something, that you're just going down to enjoy and kind of see what happens. Now, the tours, how much does it cost to go on one of these tours?
12 years and up is $13, under 12 is $8.
Wow. And that's so reasonable.
And we have another tour that's $26, and it's the 3-hour tour, and that actually goes from the 4 buildings we're in now into the whole new area that's not open to the public, and that's a 3-hour tour for $26. But you know, everybody says 3-hour tour. Oh my God!
Yeah, Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Do you find people get claustrophobic down there?
Very few people do.
Yeah. So it's open, it's kind of airy?
There's little tricks you can use to help people that are claustrophobic, and it works real good. The problem we do get is people who can't handle the underground. I've had people last 60 seconds, and it's generally guys.
Really?
And they don't know why. These are guys that go into caves, and they're embarrassed, but we're so used to it now. It's like they had a past life experience tied to the Shanghai Tunnels.
Wow.
And it really gets to them. And I mean, it's happened so much. I tell people, don't be embarrassed. This happens so much.
Tell us about the wolves that are associated with the Shanghai Tunnels.
Well, there was a Native American man, we're going back into history now, who was worked aboard the longboats, which turned the sailing ships around in the harbor. And he would not, after work, would not go to the saloons and places like that. He would go and take a drink out of Skidmore Fountain. And he would walk the streets. And he was a tall guy, very, very strong. And one of the Shanghaiers wanted him. So he got his men together, could learn his routine. And one night when he took a drink out of Skidmore Fountain, started walking down the street, they got around him. And at a certain spot, when they were ready to grab him, he drops down on all fours and turns into a wolf. And he turned around with his eyes flashing red. He ran off, and they were just frozen in their tracks.
Wow.
Well, the cry of the wolf has been heard along the waterfront since that night. And to this very day, I have homeless people I talk to, and they talk about the wolf they heard. Not a dog, not a coyote, a wolf.
Wow.
And this wolf is sighted in the underground. There's one tunnel that actually has, that the people who built the underground honored him by fashioning the head of a wolf in the tunnels. And a very good friend of mine who's passed away now, Wilfred Yallop from the Yakama Indian Nation, knew the story, knew where this head of the wolf was in this one tunnel, and he told me where it was, and I said, Wilfred, I have access to that. There's no wolf head. He says, you're not ready to see it. If you're ready, you will. And one day, like 2 years after he told me about it, there it was.
Really?
And people on our tours, and that's for really a Halloween tour that we save it for. But some people will see it, and some people won't see it. And I have volunteers who will see it one night, and the next night they can't, because they're not, they were ready, then they weren't ready. But from that tunnel, and we don't talk about the wolf on our regular tours, people have heard Native American drumming and singing coming from the tunnel. They have seen the wolf. A very common thing that happens If people have big dogs at home, they'll know what I'm talking about. When your dog, even little dogs do it, but big dogs like to take their nose and throw your arm up to pet me.
Right.
That happens in the underground. Their arm goes flying. You watch them, and they're looking around, and there's nothing there. And they swear this nose of a dog pushed their arm up.
Wow.
Do they have dogs down there?
Well, let me tell you this. Okay, the wolf has been sighted. Also, a little furry dog has been sighted, and a black cat.
A black cat would seem
But
logical.
a little furry little dog is sighted. Several times people have seen him. And you know, the wolf, people see the wolf down there. Sometimes just a shadow of the wolf, sometimes it is the wolf itself.
Wow.
Did they have a certain type of man that they were looking for that they would import to go onto these ships? Was it Indians or you know,
well, okay.
I guess Native Americans to be appropriate?
What they wanted, okay, I talked about the people that had different occupations, the transients. They wanted them. They also wanted Native Americans. They brought high prices. Chinese, Japanese, African Americans, they had no rights back then. Mm-hmm. So who are they going to complain to? They had nobody to complain to. Right. Nobody would listen to them. So those are the ones they wanted. So the occupational groups, ethnic groups, that's what they wanted. And
well, we were hoping to show a couple of clips and some pictures. Unfortunately, we're having some technical difficulties, so we're not going to be able to do that tonight. But
can I talk about
absolutely.
that?
About technical
difficulty. When you go into the underground, your camera may stop working. Or you might not have a camera with a telephoto lens, and all of a sudden you have a telephoto lens.
Yes.
Everything breaks down. People get so frustrated.
Yes.
You know, but it happens. That's just how it is.
Watches turn backwards.
You got to really accept or stop working, or you turn your cell phone off and it turns back on.
Right.
One poor lady, 5 times on the tour, her phone turned on. She was so embarrassed.
Oh my gosh.
But we watched her turn it off. But these things happen.
Right.
So technical difficulties, we're used to it now.
The 5th TV show that we've done, and we've had difficulties
Maybe
like
it's
this
you.
before this show, and I did a guest spot on another show in this studio, and afterwards the producer came out and said, "You need to come alone next time. You're bringing something, because we had so many problems." And
Do you remember the last show? I think it was the show before when we had the Ouija board, or what is it?
the Boodle?
No, but when I brought the thing out and it was transparent.
Oh yes.
And that was a cool effect, but it was one of those things that was like, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Do people use any kind of devices in going down there, or?
Well, Ouija boards, definitely no. Seances, no. The spirits that are in the underground, they really like us. And there's always a problem when you use Ouija boards, seances. You're kind of opening the door for something else. That's not a good thing. Good example how they're very helpful. I had a new volunteer who didn't know how to work the trap door. And all of a sudden, at the wrong time, he pulls it. And something pushed my left shoulder. So it would miss, and I thought, I don't remember doing that, but of course I had to do it.
Right.
About a month later, there was another volunteer, didn't know when to pull it the wrong time, and something pushed me out of the way. And I thought, wow. And then a third time.
Wow.
Actually, what happened actually it's happened twice after that. A lady has whispered in my ear, "They're going to pull the trap door, they're going to pull it in my ear," and I'm listening, I thought, what? And all of a sudden, sure enough, they are at the wrong time. So, very, very helpful.
So something obviously is protecting you down there, because do you think that it's because of your approach? I mean, how is it that you approach the spirit down there as opposed to others that have come in maybe I'm sure you've had investigative teams come in, just curious, you know, probably have a little bit harder approach or a taunting approach. We talk a lot about taunting, you know. That's
Which
something
we don't do.
We don't do. We kind of just follow. But, you know, people coming down, they're really looking for something. You know, I want to hear something. Somebody make some noise, you know. As your approach, you know, how do you go into it during these tours? Just general, just walking?
My whole approach is to preserve the history, the stories, the artifacts, the architecture. That's my approach. And if anything is there, they need to be protected and respected. Mm-hmm. Like I've heard some of the most stupidest things said by other people about the ghosts and what they've called them with no respect, and that just really bothers me. And you know, people who work with me, they also feel very protective about not just the Shanghai Tunnels, but the spirits that are in there. You know, we all respect them, and if you can't respect them, I don't really want you. Because this is so important. And I think the reason why it's so active is because we're now telling their story and people are learning about the truth. Yeah. I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
And I've had EVP experts, if you want to.
Please, yes.
You know, where they would capture with their equipment the voices of ghosts. And two people, Mark and Debbie Constantino, they're EVP experts. They're great. When they go into the Shanghai Tunnels, they have such a respect. Mm-hmm. And they're not from Portland. They're from Reno.
Right.
And they come in and they do the most incredible EVP work. And what I love about what they do, they will take a couple of minutes and ask questions and then play it back. So instead of what most people do that are paranormal investigators, they get hours and hours of this, you know, trying to catch voices. They have to live it back. Yeah. They have to actually listen to it back hours later. What they do, if they get a response, they start communicating.
Right.
And we were in our new section, and Debbie said, "I want to ask this question. She goes, what do you think of Michael?" And a voice said, "He's our friend."
Wow.
It was so clear. It was like, oh my God.
That's incredible. Now, are there recordings made public at all? Do you have it on a website? Or
they're actually working on it, and it will be. Okay. Another time this investigator came through, and it just was disrespectful. And it was ticking me off, and he
you can probably feel the energy change a little bit.
Using the ghost box.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he said, "Well, I'm getting nothing." I said, "Let me try." And I said, "Do you like us telling your history and your stories?" And a voice came not from the ghost box, but outside of it. Yes.
Wow.
Very clear.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just, you know, amazing.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, EVP is electric voice phenomenon, and basically it's recording audio on a digital recorder, and some people prefer to use tape as well, and it's just disembodied voices that we hear in the recording that we may not hear at the time of the recording. But then there's times, as you and I we were speaking earlier, there's times that you hear voices with your own ears, but you don't catch it on the audio device. And I imagine that happens quite a bit.
That has happened, and I tell you, I never can get used to this.
Yeah.
I was doing a tour, I think it was about a year ago, and I had a great group of people. Most people come to our tours, they're so into this, they're so respectful, and that makes the tour because you can do more. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, behind this group, and in the back of it, this adult male and this kid is arguing. And they're arguing about money.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm thinking, we're on a tour, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm talking, trying to keep things together, and they're arguing about money. And all of a sudden, I'm getting very distracted, and I'm thinking everybody else must be, but their eyes are glued on me. I says, it's like they don't hear them.
Wow!
And 3 times I almost said, "Okay, you guys got to be quiet. I can't do a tour. What do you want?" But I didn't. something said, don't you do that, you're going to look like a fool.
Well, it would be very natural for people who are very sensitive to become confrontational based on the spirit that they're feeling. And they may be reactive on something that's so...
But that wasn't it at all. When I made my way over to the volunteer, I said, what was going on with that guy and that kid arguing about money? What are you talking about? Nobody was talking but you.
What? Oh, that's
not
awesome.
You were hearing
that is awesome.
A conversation.
And what happened back in those days, in these holding cells, there's no bathrooms for these men to use. So they used buckets and chamber pots.
Right.
And so the orphans off the street were hired to clean these out. He wasn't paid. Now that's what I'm thinking. That was the reason.
Yeah.
Another time, we're waiting for this group to show up and they're late. So I'm doing the first part, and I'm hearing right where there's an old speakeasy back in the days of Prohibition, this couple ladies just laughing, and just I'm thinking, oh my God.
Where is that
I
coming
said, oh
from?
brother, so-and-so's going to have a really tough time with this group. Listen to those ladies. As I'm walking by with my group, and the volunteer goes, no, they didn't show up. Oh, didn't you just hear those women laughing?
Really?
No. Nobody heard them.
Wow. Well, I was just told that we do have the capability to show the pictures.
Yay!
And so I thought maybe we've done so much talking about the tunnels, maybe we can show a few pictures, and I know you've seen them prior, and so maybe you can kind of let us know what we're looking at. So I'm not sure if they're ready just yet. Okay. I know that we have a series of pictures that take place down in the tunnel, and I know that some of them were just regular pictures, and then some of them actually may have something in the pictures, and so it'd be kind of neat to see what other people see. Okay. Because, you know, doing paranormal investigations, there's things that I may see that someone else may not, or vice versa, and it happens all the time. In fact, we did an investigation at Edgefield down in Troutdale, and Elise had taken a bunch of pictures in front of the McMinimans, and someone had pointed out when you posted it on Facebook that there was a face in one of the windows.
I just had this compulsion to take this picture, and I was actually walking right up the stairs, and I thought, well, I'll come back. I came back, circled back around, and I'm looking in the windows, and I just take it, and then I didn't think anything of it, posted on my Facebook, and somebody goes, you see the woman in the window? And I thought, no. So I'm looking, and I'm like, I'll be darned, there's a woman in the window. Now, people can take pictures down there,
yes,
or
they can.
They can bring flashlights, and
we have flashlights
provided.
Yeah.
Is there an age group that you choose to?
We like to not go below 5.
Okay.
But some people, you know, you've got to take care of your children when you come on the tour.
But are there things that would hinder somebody who has any kind of disabilities from getting down there?
Well, there's 10 steps down and 10 steps up.
Okay, so you need to be able to go down, up and down the steps.
There are benches along the way to sit, and it's a very leisurely tour. It's just filled with history and information, and it's just very educational. There's no spook house involved. Okay. That's why people come back all the time, because they love it. And there's lots of new information they get because they get so much information. So they come back another time. So we've had people there like 13 times.
How often do you do the tours?
We do them, well, we haven't switched over to summer schedule, but we do Tuesdays at 4:30, Thursday at 6:30, Friday at 6 and 7:30. Saturday at 4, 6, and 7:30, and Sunday at 4:30. And then we're going to be add on to those because of summer.
Okay. Well, they are ready to show the pictures. So if we can go ahead and throw up one of the pictures. So this was an infrared or a thermal picture that was sent to me. Yes. And do you know the background on this by any chance?
Yes, I was there when this guy brought his $50,000 camera.
Oh my gosh.
And it scared me because what I was seeing. And what we have here, there is a wolf This is the Wolf Head Tunnel, we call it, and there's a wolf right there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I see it very, very clearly.
It's almost as if you think about it peeking behind curtains.
Yes.
You can see the eye, and then like one of the eyes is covered by the curtain.
Which area down in the tunnel was this picture taken?
Wolf Head Tunnel.
Okay, that's
It's
appropriate.
called. And what's interesting, these cameras, if you were just to use one and you leaned against the wall and you walked away, for the next 15 or 20 minutes it's going to be there. When he was filming the underground, we had all of a sudden in this one area sitting on these old couches and chairs where it was occupied by all these things, because you could tell because of the heat. They instantly disappeared.
Wow.
I mean, that doesn't happen.
No.
So I said, wait a minute, please come back. I want to take some more pictures. Immediately it was filled again.
Wow.
And then they left.
So and here's another picture. And what area was this taken at, Michael?
This is the stair ladder to nowhere.
Okay.
And that's not an anaconda on the...
No.
Okay, just checking,
and
just making
refer to
sure.
this as a vortex. And these are weird lights that happens. Now this is down low, and you're right, it looks like a snake.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a big anaconda. That's
and we get these on a regular basis. And what I tell people is when you take a picture in the underground, if you play it back, don't see anything, get it on your computer. That's when you're really going to see things.
Right. Definitely. Okay. Let's go to
great.
to the next one. And so
Okay, is there a way to zoom in?
Is this one of the volunteers?
Yes, this is Nita on the right.
Oh, okay, Nita.
And to the left of the post, if they could zoom in, there's a cross. It's a big cross. And there's a guy there in a robe.
Yes.
I can
see
behind
that.
it with the eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the eyes are above.
The eyes is something else.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Okay,
Right.
good.
That's not. It looks.
That
like
looks
it, but it's
terrifying. It
not.
looks like an Ewok
But
back there.
Right below that, you can see the guy with the cross and a robe. There was nobody in a robe wearing a cross.
Wow.
And this person has been cited other times too, because people have come
Really?
up to me and says, there was a guy here in a robe wearing a cross. He's not here with us anymore.
Yeah, there it is again.
And they-
oh, they did zoom it in. Yeah, you can see the cross just to the girl to the right and the gentleman to the right.
And
just
well,
the
you know
left of the post.
what that does reminds me of the missionaries and their work in that area of town, which was known as the Old North End back then. They were the missionaries were the ones trying to stop Shanghai and Vice in Portland. And so that reminds me.
Okay. Do we have more pictures to put up? No? Okay. Well,
You're going to
that's-
have to go and take your own pictures.
I can't wait.
I
Yes.
think we're going to have to go down and volunteer.
I think I'm going to.
I love that idea.
Yes,
I
I do
love
too.
that. We have to do a tour first.
Yes,
Go
absolutely.
through, do a tour.
And I tell you, this is an ongoing investigation. Maybe the reason why things happen, ghostly things, is because we're there all the time.
Right.
A lot of times you don't have that opportunity when you're investigating a place. You can't just keep going back and again and again.
Well, and obviously they like the companionship down there. They obviously like, we've had guests that we've talked to on our shows about the fact that they'll continue to stay there because it's enjoyable for them to meet with people and greet people and stuff. Is there anything that you have found down there that you really wish would just go cross over, not be down there, that you feel is evil or?
When people were doing, not in our sections now, we're doing a lot of Ouija board activity and seances. Something did happen to me. I was in what we call the mission section, and I felt I just couldn't talk. Something happened. It's like almost like there was a hand around my throat. So that night I told my wife, I said, you know, something happened down there. I was in the mission section. Well, this guy, one of our volunteers brought her father on a tour and said, if Michael starts acting weird, take a picture because something's going on. Well, the picture he took, it looked like there was a hand around my throat. And above me was like wolf ears.
Wow.
But it had nothing to do with the hand.
Right.
It was
So as if the
there
wolf was protecting you.
me, yeah.
from whatever
that was very, very interesting. But I have a friend who's from Warm Springs, and he's a traditional practitioner. Some people call him medicine man. He's very spiritual, and he's been in the underground now 4 times. And I didn't tell him anything about it. And the first time he went in, he says, I can't go up yet. And he went by the opening den and did a ceremony. And he explained that he could feel the presence of the spirits of those native people who have died by the whites way back when they were given disease blankets. So he did a ceremony there. Then he went over by Wolfhead Tunnel and did a ceremony there. And he said the spirits of those who were shanghaied were coming out from all over the place. And he says now when he goes down, they jump on his back.
Wow.
And he carries them.
Wow.
And he always does two ceremonies, both places. And he's really drawn by it.
That's
now,
amazing.
do you have electricity down there? Do you have lights and things
We do.
that are running? And you provide flashlights for
We
the
do.
tours. And now you also have a Halloween tour, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a couple different Halloween tours.
Volunteer for the Halloween
I
tour.
know. Ooh, paranormal. And so tell me about how has the Shanghai Tunnels affected your life? Obviously, this is a passion, and this isn't a job. This is something that you absolutely love. And so is this, and then you also had mentioned that there's another area that you're going to be opening in a year or so. Are you okay to talk about that too?
Sure.
Okay.
I had no idea really how this was going to affect me, but as I was growing up, after my first time in the Shanghai Tunnels, I was always drawn back there. There was just something about it. You know, trying to get as much history as possible before it had disappeared forever. And it was the people that had that history that were vanishing. And so I always was drawn to new areas, and much to my parents, they didn't quite understand why I was going downtown. And you know, I actually lived in different places to get access. I actually lived in what was called a check room. This is where sailors and loggers used to check their goods when they were out in the woods or out at sea, and it'd be protected till they returned. Well, I rented it to live there,
really? Wow.
and to get access to an underground section. And I was always doing things like that. My brother Tom never told my mom and dad until about 10 years ago.
Really?
And my mom was so upset. And she's going to be 90 in June, early June. And she calls me up and she says, you know, if we would have known what you were doing, you would never have gone downtown, and you wouldn't be doing these tours today. And you know, every night after I give a tour, you know what I have to do?
What's that?
I have to call my mom.
Yes.
Because she still worries about me.
Oh, that's
But
great.
you were clearly meant to do this.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was clearly called upon you to do this, obviously. And it's wonderful that you're sharing your journey with other people and can inspire other people to go down there and be a part of this, because it's a great part of history.
Yeah.
Great part of history.
Well, and you're sharing in the preservation of history. It's important. You know, people talk about ghosts and hauntings and, you know, and all these things, but they don't understand. There's history first. You know, everything
Exactly.
started at one point. And so to learn the history on the tunnels is extremely important. And so I would advise people who are wanting to go to the Shanghai Tunnels to see a ghost or hear a disembodied voice.
volunteer.
Go on the tour first.
Get your tour card.
Learn the history. So
And our youngest volunteers have started at the age of 7
really,
with the family's involvement, and it's been great. And they grow and they understand. We have a 10-year-old who's so good. I mean, she is just incredible.
wow, that's
I got
awesome.
a couple I could donate.
I was going to say, I have 3 boys at home, so we'll be talking after the show.
So let's remind all of our viewers how they can
Yes.
get onto the tour.
You can call 503-622-4798 or go to our website, shanghai tunnels.info.
Okay.
INFO.
Awesome. And so, unfortunately, we don't have it to pop up on the screen, so what we'll do is we'll add it later so that people can get in touch with you or whoever to set up the tour and get some more information about volunteering. And
Absolutely.
So that's definitely something that we would like to do. So, okay, so I'm excited about this other part that you're opening.
It is, I went into this when I was 7, and who helped me in later years, in 1970, ran into an old Portland street cop I was introduced to, Al Zarnato, and he started helping me because he knew what I was interested in. So he started helping me get into these places. He knew a lot. And what was interesting, we went into this one place that we've been working on for the last year. This is like 1972. And he took his keys, there's this post, took his keys, and he goes, Z, 2 spots. And I go, why did you do that? So when you come back years from today and I'm gone, you're going to talk about me and you're going to point to that post and say that's where Al Zarnato left his mark to prove that he was here with you and he provided you with a lot of information.
Wow.
That's still there, and we're in that place right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we've got another year's worth of work I'm looking at, and then that will open up.
That's great.
And a whole new different, so if you've been on one tour, you haven't been on the other tour.
That's great.
And do you get permission to, we've got it on the TV now, we've got write down the number so you can make sure you call. Do you have to get special rights in order to increase, I mean, because Portland is full of tunnels, obviously. And do you have to get special rights to go in to keep, are there actually tunnels that have been blocked off or no longer exist?
Most of them have been blocked. A lot have been destroyed. Everything impacts adversely the underground. Mm-hmm. So what we have, I cherish, because and it takes so much cooperation to make this work.
Has the city ever considered repairing some of these places more for historical purposes? It's like once it's destroyed, it's...
I don't think, we had an opportunity several years ago when they're doing the Old Town, Chinatown Streetscape project, and I approached the people working on the project, like, why don't we, these tunnels are here, so why don't we just put a plaque on the sidewalk so 100 years from now, people can reopen them.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do it.
They didn't buy that.
But it was very interesting. And during that project, I'll tell you this, the workmen were so great. They got me to places I hadn't been in since I was a kid.
Wow.
And they were able to sneak me in, and it was so incredible. Like, these have been blocked, and I'd been there early, and they unblocked them for a very temporary period of time. I was able to get in and take photographs. And
I have to tell you, this all reminds me so much of a dream. When I was a little girl, I used to have this dream about a trap door, and I would go into this trap door and I would climb up into all these little crevices and spaces, and I would have little trinkets of things that I had collected. It was my own secret hideaway place. And probably when I was about in my teenage years, I had this dream come up again, and I couldn't fit through the door. And there was cobwebs all up along after I opened the trap door. So it's so funny you're saying, I mean, I always have this fun fascination with, what's hiding behind this, or secret tunnels or passageways. I always said if I could build a house, I would have, secret doors or bookcases that were magically open and be like, oh,
Right. I think if there were more people like you, Michael, that have the love and the compassion for history and the preservation of history, I think that there would be a lot more places available like the Shanghai Tunnels. And so I want to tell you thank you. I appreciate that. And I know that a lot of people appreciate what you do. And again, you put countless hours and time into what you do, and we appreciate it. And so I'd like to reiterate one more time that if going to the Shanghai Tunnels, definitely ask, not provoke. Go down with respect. Mm-hmm. Treat the tunnels and the staff and the spirits with respect, and enjoy. I think that I'm looking forward to going on the tour.
Oh, and we're excited. Yes.
And so maybe what we can do is,
not so much just we are paranormal investigators, but we've both agreed, you know, that our first couple tours that we want to do are definitely not about looking for the paranormal, not going down with all the gear, but just enjoying. And I think you were saying to me earlier is that seems to be actually when the most activity's happening.
It is.
Is when you're just going down with an open mind, excited, you know, you probably barely got the camera ready, and it's like, you know.
Or your camera stops working.
Right, right.
And something happens.
You could bring all this gear down and it could be useless.
Exactly. Well, and our bodies are tools. And so maybe what we can do is after we do our tours and after we do the investigation that we were going to do, the private investigation, we have you back.
Sure.
Yes.
And we bring some of the evidence or lack thereof.
Tell us how
maybe just our personal experiences.
The other spots that are opening up, and you know, we can encourage viewers to come out there, do the tours,
and come to our museum.
Yes.
That's right. And now, is that all part of the mountain thing that you were talking about before?
No, that's a wholly different project.
Totally different project.
This is the Museum of Shanghai Tunnels. It's at 213 Northwest Cooch.
Okay.
It is not open yet. We're actually trying to make use of a space that's too small.
Okay.
So it's been a real challenge, but it's coming together.
Is it in a historic building?
It's in a historic building, and
Wonderful.
it's where two saloons were. The wall was removed. You can still see where the bartenders walked, where the patrons walked.
Wow.
It's just a great spot.
Wow.
Well, and those who haven't been downtown lately, Chinatown is, or what they call Chinatown, is so much nicer.
Oh yeah.
It's, and you've got Voodoo Donuts.
Oh yeah, Voodoo Donuts. Yes, that's true.
So
you know, just real quick, real funny. I used to work for the Galleria. I did the security there, and we're talking many moons ago. And I had access to the underground and went down there, and it was the most amazing feeling for me to see that. And so I can't wait to go down to
probably a great way to get out of the heat too. You know, if it gets too hot, it's a lot cooler down below.
Yes, you need to go on the tour.
It is sort of. But I got to tell you, Bill Nato, I had a lot of meetings with him in the 70s about the Shanghai Tunnels, and he was a very good supporter.
Yeah.
And you know, he was a very good man. If he was around, he would have, I think, been.
He was made in Oregon.
Yeah.
He was made in Oregon, that's right.
Now, bring your children.
Please, yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's family friendly.
All right.
And
we have about 10 seconds left on the show. So,
Michael, thank you.
Yes, we thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, you know, I waited a long time for this moment, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come down and talk to us and inform us a little bit more of the Shanghai Tunnels. So we're very excited.
Thank you.
So,
well, until next week.
Until next week, we do have a guest from England, and so we'll see how that's going to play out. It won't be in person, obviously. We're not going to help on a plane. Although, wouldn't that be cool to just go on a European tour? And
I might wear my pajamas, though, because we'll be talking like blog talk.
I might have to have a toddy. I don't know.
All right.
And so we'll see you next time.